Right. Hello, hello. Welcome. All right. So once again, we are live streaming here on Instagram and over on my YouTube channel, Basecamp Belonging. The link is in my bio. Just changed the name of my previous channel, Emily Carolyn Baker. So it's not a new one. You've checked that out before, subscribed, same place. Just new name to match the rebrand we got going on here. So today we're going to be talking about a topic that is so important. And it is understanding spiritual trauma versus spiritual development. Okay? Now, there are two fundamental truths that are the core of our divine identity as a spiritual being here having a human experience. And those two fundamental truths are, I am good and I am safe. And this is the essence of our divine secure attachment, right? There's a lot of beautiful work that's going on right now in the mental and emotional health world and in regards to relationships. And one of these things is recognizing the importance of having a secure attachment in our relationship dynamics. Well, the same thing is true of our relationship with the divine, whether you want to call that God, spirit, higher self, the universe. There is that part of us that is more than human, that is holding us, that is where we are meant to feel our sense of innate goodness and safety. This type of understanding, belief, trust, it is something that transcends circumstance. Okay? So regardless of what's going on in our human experience, right, when we have that secure attachment with the divine, we're able to rest easier, to have peace, to move through whatever it is that life is throwing at us with greater ease. Okay? So any form of trauma, but especially spiritual trauma, comes as a result of one of those two fundamental truths being violated. Okay? This can be literal, it can be perceived, it doesn't really matter, right? The degree to which we experience the trauma can change, but every even negative emotion that we experience can be traced back to not believing or trusting in some capacity that we are good or we are safe. Okay? So, what does spiritual development do? Well, spiritual development is supposed to be those practices, people, organizations, families, communities, relationships that help us foster our own personal relationship with God and the divine. Right? It is supposed to help support us in having this secure attachment experience. Okay? Now, there are two pathways in which we can go about creating this type of experience. Right? One of them is what I call the masculine pathway. The other is the feminine pathway. If you're not familiar, when I talk about masculine and feminine energies, or masculine and feminine, I am not talking about gender, sexuality, personality, anything like that. I am referring to two energetic terms that are used in energetics. It's sort of like positive and negative charge or north and south poles on a magnet, right? They represent two different states. Okay? So this is the masculine pathway. You need to do something so that you can have something, so that you can be something, right? The goal is this state of being, getting us in touch with the spiritual side of who we are, to recognize you are a spiritual being here having a human experience. I want to connect you with that, because when we connect you with that intrinsic part of who you are, we connect you with God, divine, higher self, universe, right? The whole goal. And hopefully we're doing this in a way that creates a secure attachment experience for the human part of you in relationship with that divine, intrinsic, godly, more than human aspect. Right? So this is particularly prevalent in a lot of religions or faith traditions or practices. You need to do something like go to church so that you can have something like a strong testimony so that you can be righteous. right? All sorts of different ways that we can play this out, right? It's the masculine pathway, and there is value in this path, right? To do something so you can have something, so you can be something, can be a beautiful way to move through things. Here's the problem. When we do something to have something, we can get stuck on thinking that this have state is the end result or the goal, because it's something that's usually more tangible. This is where we get into the idea of having checklists, right? You need to do this thing so you can have this thing, do this thing, have this thing. And it becomes a sort of transactional experience because we're not actually traveling all the way through the pathway. Masculine pathway, the state of being is the final piece, and it's supposed to be something we choose after having done this and after having experienced this. We choose that we want to be this. And that's going to be a key thing we're going to talk about in a minute, is that the state of being is always something you have to choose. It is not a guarantee. It is not a requirement. It's not just naturally going to happen, right? If you do this thing, naturally, this thing usually follows in most circumstances, right? And that's where we can get stuck in the sort of transactional loop of I need to do this thing so I can have this thing, do this thing, have this thing. And we're perpetually looking to some external authority or measure or person to tell us, am I being yet? Am I good? Am I worthy? Am I whatever, right? We are trying to have somebody else tell us, yes, you have done enough. You have enough of the right things in your life, in your experience, in your heart, in your soul, whatever. You can now be good and be safe. It's not the way it's supposed to be, right? Rather, proper spiritual development says, hey, you want a way to help you learn how to better connect with that intrinsic, more than human, divine part of who you are. Again, whether you call that spirit, God, higher self, the universe, right? Here's some things that have been helpful in the past. You might want to do this thing. You can have this experience, and it will be easier for you to choose to be this person. Right? Now, here's the thing. There's also a feminine pathway version of this. It looks like this. It says in this version, we first choose who we are going to be. And from that choice of becoming, we naturally decide to do something. There's often an impulse or a prompting or a pull to do something. There's a natural urge or desire for that. And when we do that thing, it results in us having a certain experience. Now, because the having is the final step in this feminine pathway process, it's often easier because we think, this being, because I did that, resulted in this. And we're more likely to complete all three stages. Whereas in the masculine pathway, there's that risk that we'll get stuck in that sort of transactional checklist sort of relationship, and we're not actually moving all the way through. Okay. But in this pathway as well, we still have to choose who we are going to be. Okay? That is not a guarantee. It is not something that just happens. It is an active decision that we have to make again and again and again. That is why I will always say one of the most important and fundamental things as a human being is the right to choose, free will, agency, because from that place, this is the whole goal. It is all about getting to this state of being, this connection with yourself. Because when you connect with who you truly are, who you intrinsically, innately, divinely are, you will be connecting with God. You will be connecting with Source, with your higher self, the universe, with everything that is. And you cannot truly be in relationship with other people if you are not first connected with yourself. Right? So when we connect with ourselves, it is the crux of everything. Right? Some people will say, that's so selfish. If you're just focusing on yourself, then you're not ever serving, or you're not ever helping, or you're not ever doing other things. That is not true. Connecting with yourself is one of the most important things you can do. It is not about saying, I am the source of all of my power, of all of my ability, of all of my spiritual connection, because when you truly connect with yourself, you realize that there is something more. You are receiving this experience. It is coming to you. It is happening through you, through that connection, right? So when we are truly connecting with who we actually are, it's not us placing ourselves above God. It is connecting to God in a deeper way. Likewise, it gives us the capacity to actually connect with other people, to be open, aware, supportive, to have that cup filled, right? It comes from a connection to yourself, which is a connection from the divine, which is the source of all of our life force, ability, capacity to serve and love others, right? There's this beautiful experience that happens. And again, all of that is the focus of this be, right? Be you, connect with yourself. That is the whole point and purpose. Spiritual development is helping foster that type of relationship. And again, there are these two different pathways, the masculine and the feminine, for how we can go about this process. And what's really interesting is it's not really just like a one-time thing of these 3 steps. It's something that is repeated over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And in fact, it's what I like to view as our spiritual DNA, if you will. The same way in our physical DNA, there are base pairs, and I have to remember them, ATCG. It's been like a decade. I think that's right, though, right? And those letters play out in all sorts of combinations. And depending upon where you start reading a strand of DNA, you will have different proteins and things that are created as a result. Okay? So looking at this sequence of spiritual DNA, we can start in the feminine pathway and be like, oh, we're going to create something here. Or at another time in our life, we may be like, oh, I'm going to start in the masculine pathway, do something here, right? And it becomes a sort of experience of what is it you're wanting to create in your life? How are you wanting to experience this human experience that you came to Earth to have, right? This is our ability to sort of move through that. Right? And when we, as individuals, families, cultures, organizations, religions, don't fully properly understand our spiritual development and these different processes that are at play, right? We can do a lot of harm. We can cause that spiritual trauma to result. As we started talking about at the beginning of this video, that spiritual trauma comes anytime our innate identity is violated. And the 2 fundamental principles of who we innately, intrinsically, divinely are is good, safe. Okay? Every negative emotion, every degree of trauma that you have can be traced back to one of those 2 things being violated, right? And we are literally designed to resist anything that we perceive as saying, you're not good or you're not safe, right? It is the antithesis of who we are. So if you want to have proper relationships, if you want to be able to help foster proper spiritual development, you have to be able to do it in a secure attachment way. You have to be able to help people understand, hey, you have a secure attachment relationship with God and the divine. It is not fear-based. It is not anxious. It is not, right? There's a whole methodology that's developed around this idea, and I just love it. It's such a wonderful application in our spiritual development as well, right? Our relationship with God, with the divine, with that more than human higher self part of us needs to be from a secure attachment place. And when it is, from there, we have the capacity to move through the relationship. The same way I want to have a secure attachment relationship with my children so that they feel comfortable to learn and grow and develop and expand and to try things out and to experience things. And that's part of why I love the doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because we believe in heavenly parents, a heavenly father and a heavenly mother. And it's this pattern of divine families of saying, hey, you've got a secure attachment with them, and you have an older brother, Jesus Christ, who is here helping you learn how to become like them. And you get to come to earth to practice that, to have this physical, tangible experience of enjoying, okay, what does it mean to be a spiritual being, having a human experience? Beautiful process. And it's something I'm so passionate about, is helping us kind of break down and understand what parts of the spiritual development process are we not understanding? Are we not properly supporting? Are we violating, so that we can create these more positive experiences? Because spiritual development is just as critical and as much of a basic human right as proper physical development. The same way every child should have access to food, shelter, clothing, education, they should have access to the fundamentals of spiritual development as well. It's not just about religion, faith, creed, belief, culture, whatever. It transcends that. It is an intrinsic part of who we are. And that is what Basecamp Belonging is all about, helping support the spiritual development of all of us and helping you learn how to become a wisdom bear, which is a guardian of spiritual development, someone who is seeking to develop themselves spiritually, but then to also be able to go out and help others learn and become this beautiful spiritual being having a human experience. Right now, I'm getting ready to open up my spiritual rebirth program, where I walk you through the journey and the calling of becoming a wisdom bearer, so that you can support yourself, your family, your kids, your business, anyone else you feel or you want to work with or feel called to work with in their spiritual development journey. Right? This program is so good. And as a part of doing it, you automatically, with a few extra steps you have to do, also are able to become certified as a wisdom bearer. This is the next most amazing thing. It's life coaching meets personal spiritual development meets pastoral training. If you're interested in it, comment below, send me a DM, or check out the link in my bio to book a free consult. I'd love to have you join us. Remember, spiritual development is meant to be a part of our human experience, and it doesn't have to be traumatic. Have a wonderful rest of the day.